You are now tuned in to the Chop Shop. I'm Retro. Let's get it. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the Chop Shop. Yeah, it's lit in the Chop Shop. Turn your dials up in the drop top. They ain't based in debate, but they keep it fact straight. Going 30 for 30, let's do a first take. On Facebook Live from 12 to 2. Rob Hatter and Jim Hicks going back and forth like Carter Ray and Skip Bayless and Stephen Smith. From on the court, off the court, straight to the field. Not a man that steals, but I made it steal. To the octagon where I fight to kill. We go face to face, then you write your will. I don't play tennis, but I bring the racket. I'm on the floor, I attack the basket. Put you in the casket when I'm overlapping. Never showing mercy, cause I'm always snapping. Never showing mercy when I'm in the arena. Step into the ring, he hit me as I beat him. Step into the court, I'm never backing down. Killing competition, I'm smacking down. Let me get back to the other stuff at the Chop Shop, cause they cutting up. It's Retro coming to you live to the Chop Shop. Now let's turn it up. Yeah, we in the Chop Shop, man. Shout out to Jim Hicks and Rob Hatter. You can catch the Chop Shop live from 12 to 2 on Facebook Live. Let's get it. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop.
Welcome to the Chop Shop, the Midday Sports Happy Hour. Yours truly, Jim Hicks, live with you guys on this Tuesday. Going to be with you guys for the next 2 hours. Going to be rocking and rolling, talking about all type of stuff, sports related. Welcome you guys. Fine tune yourself on in. Give a shout out to our starting five in a second. Come on in. See Daryl Anderson is in the house. Shout out to him. He and his lovely wife, Tay, they were rocking and rolling, selling the 7 C's. Have one heck of a life, they do. I mean, just go and they just travel and just sell pretty much everywhere for most of the year and party themselves to death. Shout out to Mindy Collins. She's in the starting five as well. She's fine. She's up in there. Have a seat, Mindy. We're gonna rock and roll. We're gonna get you guys to share the show right now. My voice been talking all morning. I should have made me some hot tea or something. But I got my white cup. I'm mounted up. Shout out to Walter Yates Jr. in the house. We got a hell of a high school coach conversation coming up, Walt. You might want to get every coach you know to come and join this convo. This might ruffle some feathers in a second. Especially high school coaches. Shout out to you. Shout out to Brad Kimball. Shout out to Simeon Sims. Rod Wells, you my starting point guard today. I got my starting five, plus I got my first 3 off the bench. We got a rotation. Brian Boatwright in the house. What's going on, Boatwright? I see you. Let's share the show, guys. First of all, as we start and tip this thing off, you see behind me, of course, the spring icebreaker. That's our large grassroots events that we host once a year. It is March the 15th through the 17th. I mean, slide over. You can see that date. That is roughly a month away. And this event is probably one of the best ideas of revenue sharing that I can think of. And what we do is we give each champion, we donate $1,000 to their program, to each champion. Nobody is doing it for the high school age people. Everybody's complaining about economics and about lack of revenues to travel, how expensive this stuff is getting. Well, this was a way to eliminate that excuse. And yet there will be other events going on that'll be head to head that's not going to give you a penny. And you make conscious decisions, choices, which brings about consequences on the back end if it doesn't benefit or yield what you expect. This is our way of giving back to the community. One of the many ways that we give back to the community. You have to give back in this stuff. This is what we call the spring icebreaker. We should rename it to the tide to the community, because that's basically what it is. One gigantic tide, T-I-T-H-E, like in church, tide to the community. And this event, if you have a youth basketball team, and wherever they're going, you see the QR code up in that top corner. You can scan it and you can go and reserve a team. That'd be awesome. That way now you're supporting our efforts to support the community, and that's how we do it with the spring icebreaker. Think in the tone, of course, Robert Hathaway just tuned into Chop Shop. He's traveling. He and the Texas Southern University Tigers fell short last night against Bethune-Cookman, and 83-79. Tight game, but the Tigers did not pull it off. I forgot to warn Hatter about the little point guard from Bethune-Cookman. He was one of those point guards that early on, right, as Zion Harmon. Early on, he was projected in the 9th grade or so as one of the top 100 players in the country, nationally. He had street cred everywhere. As he grew older, then fell out of favor of the recruiting ranks because he thought it was going to be a high major prospect. And then the transfer portal came and emerged up, and next thing you know, guys like him, he's sub 6 foot, and the game pretty much passed him, and the recruiting game soured on him. And a guy like him ends up at Bethune-Cookman, and potential game changer. He's a sophomore right now, and I think they list him at 6 foot, but he might have grown to 6 foot now. But last time I saw him, he was every bit of 5'10". And kids grow, but this young man he was a problem last night for TSU, and according to the stat sheet, 6-11 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3-point land, 5 for 6 from the free throw line. He had 4 assists in 20 minutes of action. And I'm sorry, take that back. In 33 minutes of action, he had 20 points. And TSU, now they fall to 7-4 in conference play. Tied with Bethune-Cookman, who obviously has the tiebreaker edge right now, or who won the game last night. I don't know, TSU won the first matchup. So the Tigers will be back in town this weekend, where they will face Grambling and Southern in a key swing, because Grambling also lost last night to Alabama A&M. So Grambling remains 1 game ahead of TSU and Bethune-Cookman in the standings. Southern won last night at Alabama State, and they're in first place at 9-2. So both Grambling and Southern will visit H-Town this weekend. And Saturday and Monday are those 2 games. And also, speaking of this weekend, and we mentioned it yesterday on the Chop Shop, and that is the Cactus Jack Baseball HBCU Classic will take place in Houston at Minute Maid Park on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The things will tip off with a celebrity game on Thursday evening. Travis Scott, that's his foundation, so I'm sure a lot of his friends of celebrity stature will be in attendance to make this Cactus Jack baseball HBCU Classic another success. Also, each game will be broadcast live on the Space City Home Network. The Space City Home Network is the same network on cable. Used to be the AT&T network, and they are they've changed their name. Of course, the Astros and the Rockets merged, did a co-op to buy out that station, and that particular station once again is going to broadcast the games live. That's from the Cactus Jack baseball HBCU baseball classic, which is once again this weekend. I like Travis Scott has done a great job at cleaning up his image, his name, put it like that, in H-Town over the past few years since that tragic occurrence happened at his annual festival. I'm looking at the schedule for the Cactus Jack HBCU Classic for, let's say, for Friday at 11 o'clock, Alcorn versus Southern. This is baseball. 3 o'clock, Jackson State versus Texas Southern. Then at 7 p.m., Prairie View versus Grambling. This is baseball, right? And on Saturday at 11 o'clock, there's going to have an Astros Youth Academy College Fair. So that means different colleges, they have their booths, their tables set up, and the kids can come and introduce themselves or to more about HBCUs. At 1 o'clock, Jackson State will play Alcorn on Saturday. Also followed by at 3 p.m., Grambling and Southern. And then at 7 p.m., TSU versus Prairie View. And then also they will have, while the TSU and Prairie View game is going on, I think upstairs they're going to have a HBCU old school party hosted by Scarface and Bun B. Will be at Minute Maid Park. Then on that Sunday, they're going to have a gospel breakfast at Minute Maid Park, 9 a.m. At 11 a.m., Grambling and Jackson State baseball. Then at 1 p.m., a Spirits and Food Festival. It's like another way of saying a late Sunday brunch. 3 p.m., Alcorn at Prairie View. And at 7 p.m. on Sunday, Southern and Texas Southern. Also, during that last game, I think it's going to be either before or during the 7th inning. Got details in my box. I got to go and pull. They're going to honor former Texas Southern University head baseball coach Candy Robinson, who's passed away. They're going to honor him, and we're asking for all former baseball players from Texas Southern University to please attempt to be present and show up in unity as they honor Candy Robinson. Because either Candy was an assistant coach or a head coach if you played baseball at TSU anytime from the early 80s on until he passed away. Shout out, I see you, businessman. I see you, Ken Dean. I see you, Reginald Simpson. I see you, Sonia Billingsley, Paul Miranda. See everybody. Gonna get everybody to share the show if you could. I see Clyde Jackson, Craig Stick, Lily in the house. Let's get the shares up. Let's share that show. I want to share it with you guys right now. And thumbs up on the YouTube if you can. If you will be so kind. Give us a thumbs up on the YouTube. Let's get this conversation going. I just shared it myself. And now let's give us some thumbs up on that YouTube. There you go. I see you, Michael Smith. I see you, D. Holcomb. And Rod will say, bring a jacket to the Cactus Jack games because there is no heat in the stadium. That just reminds me to take a peek and see what the temperature is supposed to be this weekend in Houston. 40 on Friday, high of 67, low of 60 with a 60% chance of rain. On Saturday, high of 60, low of 43. No rain on the forecast for Saturday or Sunday, which it would be sunny, but it would be a chilly low of 38 with a high of 60. So make sure you check your weather and dress appropriately as you come out and support and show your face at that Cactus Jack HBCU Classic. Also, now, it's 21 minutes past the hour. We're going to rock and roll. Got a lot of stuff that we're talking about. And first, I guess give you some, in the scholastic setting, it was something I wanted to share with you guys. And being Black History Month, you know, get in Robert Heller mode, give you some skull therapy first, something to take back to others in your circles. Walter Moses Burton, right? Walter Burton, middle name was Moses. In 1869, check this out. He was elected as sheriff in Fort Bend County. That's a suburb of Houston. Not just sheriff. Walter Burton happened to become, at that time in 1869, the first African American elected sheriff in the United States of America. He served as sheriff and tax collector until 1873. He often used a white deputy to function the arrest, right? Because of the racial tensions and unrest during those times. So he'd be a boss, but he really wasn't running things. And just wanted to honor and acknowledge and share that with you guys for Black History tidbit today. That's Walter Moses Burton, the first elected sheriff in the history of the United States of America. That's good stuff right there. Now, I was looking, of course, last night. I've given you guys, of course, I mentioned just tuning into the Chop Shop. Robert Hatter is on. He's traveling back to H-Town with TSU's basketball programs, and hopefully safe travels for those guys that they're in the SWAC. Southern over Alabama State, 73-62. Jackson State defeats Arkansas Pine Bluff, 76-63. Mississippi Valley falls to Alcorn, 72-55. Grambling loses to Alabama A&M, 60-50. Prairie View defeats Florida A&M, 61-58. And of course, Texas Southern falls to Bethune-Cookman, 79-83. And so with that being said, chance to watch a little bit of Big 12 action last night. Texas Tech had a little hiccup right there. Tech beat up on Kansas like they stole something last night. I mean, that was a throttling right there. And it's going to be amazing, and I'm curious to see what's going to happen with the rankings next week, because that Big 12 is a gauntlet. I mean, of course, on yesterday, the poll comes out every Monday. And University of Houston is up 2 spots from 5 to number 3. UConn and Purdue sit tight at 1 and 2 again. Marquette at 4. Arizona at 5. Kansas was at 6. They was at 4 last week. They're going to drop harder. You lost by damn near 30 on the road. And of course, the Texas Tech team that is great. But we're going to see how hard that Kansas falls after this. North Carolina's at 7. Tennessee is at 8. Duke picked up a win last night. They're at 9. Iowa State is at 10. So that means as it stands as of Monday, that's 3 teams in the Big 12 that crack the top 10. Baylor is at number 12, right? BYU is at number 19. And Oklahoma rounds off the top 25. I noticed Indiana State is cracked the top 25. They're 22-3 on the season. Man, I don't think Indiana State been in the top 25 since Larry Bird was there. I'm not joking. I don't think since Larry Bird was there, they haven't been in the top 25. But expect Texas Tech to jump right in. Somebody's going to make space for Texas Tech after whooping Kansas like that. They're going in, back in. That's according to Associated Press poll that comes out every week. And I mentioned about the Big 12 and their standings and talking about them. Show you how tough this thing is. U of H is in first, a half game ahead of Iowa State. Texas Tech now is in 3rd place. Think about this. Think about how this sounds. You guys think about rankings all the time, right? This is the funniest stuff in the world. So just apply this. These were kids, and you're talking about rankings. Texas Tech is in 3rd place, currently right now in the Big 12. But they're in 3rd place, only behind U of H and Iowa State right now. Baylor is in 4th. They're ranked number 12 in the country. Kansas is in 5th. They're ranked number 6 in the country. Oklahoma is ranked is not ranked, but they are sitting in 7th place. They're number 25 in the country. BYU is in 8th place. They're number 19 in the country. So a team that's not even ranked, think about how they're feeling. That's how some of you guys feel about when you see player rankings. And know what's going to happen? Next Monday, a lot of that will sort itself out. And Texas Tech, while they may not be ranked ahead of Kansas in the polls, they may not be ranked ahead of Baylor in the polls. Possibly they have one more game before then. But guess what's going to happen? It will correct itself. Eventually they will receive their due. Eventually. Just keep winning. Keep winning. And in case you're wondering, the University of Texas Longhorns, they're at 5-6. One game below 500, and they are in 9th place right now in the Big 12 conference standings. There could be 10 teams from the Big 12 to make the NCAA tournament. 9 for sure. Depending on how the conference tournament goes for those last couple of teams on the bubble at that time. 9 teams are going for certain. Could be 10. That'll make it. I'm shouting out to obviously we're gonna talk about the middle school tournament on the back 9. Eventually, you're jumping the gun on me. I see you right there. I see you. What's up? I see you, Michael Garcia. We're going to talk high school playoffs shortly. Right? Just hold tight. And there we go. See, Robert Hallinan jumped in. He's texting and he's in the Boom Boom Room with you guys on the Facebook feed. So you guys can watch in Boom Boom Room. We talked about the SWAC earlier in the show. Talked about and broke some things down on the standings. All TSU got to do is take care of business at home, and everything will be all right. Take care of business at home. Win at home. You just split on the road, and if you win at home, guess what? You are going to be sitting pretty in any conference that you play in. Win all your home games and just split at least on the road, and you're in great shape. That's what they're going to be. And so I see Trey Phillips. I see you up in there, man. See Goree Allen, Alfio Veazey. I see Gary Carter up in there. King Sticks, you up in there with us today. We're going to get you guys who coming in late, share the show right now. If you would, share the show to your timelines, to your groups, as we get into this conversation. First and foremost, is it's 30 minutes past the hour, and now it's time to get right up into it. Here's what I want to talk to you guys about. And that is, a couple of years ago, the UIL released their top 100 players of the past 100 years of existence. These were players that played in UIL member schools. So before everybody get in a frenzy, UIL, this is their top 100 from across the state of Texas. Now remember that was a decision that was made a few years back that basically incorporated the PVIL and their records along with the UIL. It's kind of like they're acknowledging the PVIL, like the Major League Baseball acknowledged the Negro League, right? A few years back. So now, with that being said, I mean a lot of people that's on this list didn't necessarily play after integration. Some were before integration. But I noticed out of them 100 names, there was 37 from Greater Houston. It's a little bit over 35%. I haven't combed through the whole list and see what the geographic area that everybody's from, but I'm quite sure that area is among the tops of producers on this list, among the tops, if not the 20 of those young men that are on this list were played or finished high school basketball after 2000. Some of the names, the guys that's from since 2000, from across the state of Texas. These are 100 players since a lot of stuff changed since the millennium. That's why you got to get them an asterisk, a whole different category. They have things at their disposal that people before then didn't necessarily have. I know C.J. Miles from Dallas Skyline High School from back in 2005. C.J. played professionally in the NBA with about half dozen teams. He had a great career in the league, whereas he, I think he just recently retired. He played in the league. Remember, he was going to go to the University of Texas and then decided he's going to go pro out of high school. And that pretty much shocked a lot of people because they was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you thinking? He was one of those guys that bet on himself. He had intel. One team liked him. That was the Utah Jazz. And he ended up rocking with Utah for 7 years. And that's C.J. Miles. Did a lot, gave back to his community. I want to acknowledge him as one. Darrell Arthur Slim Shady, they used to call him. Class of 2006. Right? He played in the league, went to Kansas. Of course, he was a McDonald's All-American, Parade All-American. Got 2 state championships by way of that they had to forfeit later on. But he earned 2 state championships in 05 and 06. Played in the league for about 10 years in the NBA. I'm showing some love to guys from out of town that made this list that I'm talking about, among those 20 players that's since the year 2000. Willie Warren, 2008, from North Crowley High School. Willie played, of course, he was another McDonald's All-American pick, Mr. Texas basketball. Led North Crowley to the state championship in 08. One of the most impressive single dominating performance at the state tournament was Willie Warren. I'll put it like this. Willie Warren's team was just like watching Justice Winslow with that St. John's team that Winslow had. That's how Willie Warren's team, pretty much, the makeup of it. It was like Willie Warren and the Seven Dwarfs. And they got it done. He ended up going to OU and got in with the Clippers for 1 year, or for half of a year or so in the NBA. And that was all. Then he went up going overseas. Bracy Wright from the Colony. Bracy was back in 2002, and of course he was an All-American, and fell short of the state. Made it to the state tournament, but didn't win state. That was a year that everybody was expecting. He was in the 11th grade, him and D. Williams, and everybody was expecting them. That's Darren Williams. Everybody was expecting them to meet up with Willow Ridge, and the Colony got upset that year. Willow Ridge escaped from being upset by Converse Judson, and they ended up beating Bryan, I think, in the championship. But Bracy Wright played at Indiana, then played for the Timberwolves for about 2 seasons in the NBA. Marquise Bolden from DeSoto High School, class of 2016. I speed it up, and I'm acknowledging some of the young guys who the UIL acknowledged on their top 100 list of all time. LaMarcus Aldridge, class of 2004, from Seagoville High School. Chris Bosch from Dallas Lincoln. In 2002, they won the state championship, beat Beaumont Ozan in a classic game over Kendrick Perkins that year. Out of town guys on this, LeBrian Nash from Dallas Lincoln High School in 2011. And of course, Marcus Smart from 2012 from Flower Mound Marcus High School. Now, other guys that's on this list from the greater Houston area, that's from the 2000 on forth. This is UIL. De'Aaron Fox. This is in no particular order. In Side Lakes High School, 2016. Joe Young from Yates High School, 2010. TJ Ford, Willow Ridge, 2001. Jawan McClellan, Milby, 2004. Kendrick Perkins, Beaumont Ozan, 2003. Daniel Gibson, Houston Jones, 2004. Emeka Okafor, Bel Air, 2001. It's a nice list. Daniel Ewan, Willow Ridge, 2001. Aaron Harrison, Fort Travis High School, 2013. Andrew Harrison is not listed. Aaron Harrison was. Nick Wise, Kingwood High School, 2006. And as we near the end of this list, Tyrese Maxey, I forgot him earlier in that bunch, from 2019, South Garland High School, who's now, of course, starring with the Philadelphia 76ers. Now that list right there, I just want to acknowledge some guys and take you a blast to the past and applaud these young men, or the UIL, for acknowledging them. Who do you guys think was left off that list? Who got snubbed from since 2000? Since 2000, who got snubbed? Right? Anybody can think who got snubbed from that list? It's a good list. As I wait on you guys to reading some of your comments. Big Coach say Carson Edwards. Yeah. I mean, who do you take off? Who do you take off? Which one of them bumps out that I just said for Carson to come in? That's how you look. That would probably be a better way to look at it. Who bumps out? I'm listening. Oh, Tommy Mason Griffin. Alden Ford. Oh. Well, Alden Ford came out before 2000. I think he was he 2000? Yeah, he was 2000. Or 90, 99, 2000. Yeah, Alden Ford was 99. It was 2000. Yeah, it was 2000. I think Alden Ford was 2000. You're right. So Alden Ford, I mentioned D. Gibb, Jay. I mentioned De'Aaron Fox. I mentioned LaMarcus Aldridge. Tommy Mason Griffin that might be a snub. I mentioned Jawan McClellan. You probably didn't catch him, Mr. Jeremy. And I just says UIL have any black people on the committee? Yeah, they do. They do. I need to get the list. I don't have the official list. John Lucas III. Kendrick Davis. Those are two good ones. Two very good ones. Who goes out, though? Gerald Green didn't play UIL, Kings. It's a UIL list. You must have only played for a UIL member school to be in this list. And you guys, now, in the same breath, of course, it's 44 minutes past the hour, and here's a good conversation. I was looking at the coaches. They had a list of coaches they made a list for as well. 100 coaches. And I got to doodling through that list. Troy Callahan said Jacobin Brown. Jacobin Brown was a bad boy. He was a bad boy. Lawrence Roberts, bad boy. Man. And yeah, Lawrence Roberts was better than Emeka in high school, but I'm quite sure, based on seeing his list, and some of the names from the old school, they used the entire body of work. So Emeka definitely had caught up and passed Lawrence on the back end of his resume. But I'm moving over to coaches now. And I'm going to ask you guys to share the show. if you haven't done so. Share the show. Kevin Lewis say Tack Minor. No, Tack wouldn't have made this list because Tack's accolades on the national scale were primarily from the non-scholastic setting. Tack's coach at the time, Clarence Stubblefield. In case you guys may not know, this is a true story. When Tack was in the 12th grade, he had benched Tack to prove a point, not because of he didn't like something he didn't like that Tack had did, and it wasn't nothing didn't violate no law, didn't break just trying to break him like a mule in his efforts to break him. Booker T. Washington played Sharpstown in the first round of the playoffs in 2003. That's February. Should have been an easy game. So you figure you're gonna bench Tack to let him sit on the bench in uniform, not play. That way that hurts you more and gets your attention better than not even telling you don't come. Booker T. Washington lost that game. So in an effort to try to prove the point, it came at the expense of your season ending because Tack didn't play. Clarence Stubblefield never, according to the coaches that was in the district meeting, after every regular season, the coaches get together and they pick their all-district teams. Clarence Stubblefield never nominated Tack for all-district. This is a true story. That's how he felt about Tack Minor. After the 10th grade, now I'm not showing the ticket, he played varsity in the 10th grade. They lost in the Campbell Center in that historic game against Willow Ridge, whereas Ronnie Courtney basically they were trailing, and he fouled on purpose so that he can get the ball back, so that Booker T. Washington could not win at the buzzer. He fouled on purpose to give Booker T a chance to take the lead so that he can get the ball back. He didn't want to lose. He didn't want to. Chris Gray, I think was his name, was hot that game. He had, I think, 33 points against Willow Ridge. And but anyway, this is why I say Tack Minor would not get it, because Clarence Stubblefield was very well respected among the coaching ranks. He coached at Booker T. Washington, man, for a mighty long time. He was as a player in the old PVIL, he won a state championship, and everybody in Studewood Acres Home, he was revered. And so then became the coach at Booker T. Washington and actually coached generations. He coached at least three different generations of kids. He coached the grandparent, the son, and the grandson. He coached generations. He had been there that long. And when Booker T. Washington retired Tack Minor's jersey a few years ago, thanks to Coach Vincent Grayson over at Booker T. Washington, he spearheaded that movement to get that done. Tack Minor's former college coach, John Brady, flew in and showed up at the ceremony. Clarence Stubblefield did not. He did not send a message. He did not send a video. He did not send a letter. And so I think safe to say, and as much, and I know Tack Minor absolutely loved that man until he couldn't love him no more. You know, you can love a person and then everything they do, when they do something, they're not there for you, then it shocks you, it breaks your heart, chips away at your soul. Then you start to feel guilty. It's like, man, damn, was I that bad of a person? But this is why I say the Tack Minor, on the scholastic level, his accolades will be minimized. Only the people that saw him in the non-scholastic, that's where he got his applause from a certain sector of people. A lot of people didn't like that in-your-face, aggressive, over-aggressive demeanor that Tack Minor had on the court. The bully ball. I used to call him a power guard. You know, you got power forward. I used to call Tack he's a power guard. He would just absolutely just run right through, get kids. I remember when he went to LSU, that John Brady would actually encourage him to go home. Go back to Houston on the weekends. They would have official visitors come in, because they would play open gym, and Tack would would bully the kids, knock them on the floor, talk crazy to them, and that would scare the mom and dad to be watching. That would scare the hell out of them parents. So they couldn't get no point guards to commit, no All-Americans to commit. Even though Tack was volatile, the job was just waiting on you. If somebody, they couldn't get none, and that kind of hurt them a little bit. They still went to the Final Four the year that Tack was out as a junior. But anyway, back on. Well, they say Stubb was old school stubborn. I think it's beyond old school stubborn, because he had time to overcome that. Get over that. That happened. You did that. The young man never ended up in handcuffs. So it's not one of those stories where you can say, I told you so. He's just one of the many. There are thousands of people in this world that people thought had NBA talent that didn't make it to the NBA. Thousands. So he's part of that fraternity. But a nice chunk of those guys who didn't make it to the NBA, who people said had NBA talent, a nice chunk of those guys got put in handcuffs at one point in time. Tack works for the government. Works for the Postal Service for a decade, for at least 10 years now. So he went and played overseas, then that didn't pan out. Then that's what he does now. Family guy. Life goes on. But the thing is, most people had claimed that he would either be based on a kid like him coming from 43rd Street in Independence Heights, or 11 43rd Street. That was the address. That he would have been either dead or in jail. Like people say, boy, you can't keep living like you don't. Well, guess what? He's living and has never been in jail. So that's and young man taking care of his family. So props to shout to him. Kendrick Davis, I definitely think he should, is a candidate for that list. But once again, who do you take off? Right? Who do you take off? I see some more names. Yeah, Paul Miranda, we said T.J. Ford. He came out in 2001. Carlos Hurt would not be on the list because Carlos Hurt didn't graduate from a UIL member school. Remember, Carlos Hurt went to Kentucky for the 12th grade, Louisville Male High School. Him and Brandon Bender. And Gary Johnson, woo, that's a good one. Brandon Peters, I think Joe Young is going to always, and Snap Peters are going to split hairs and steal each other's votes from that team, because that team was that 2010 Yates team. And I think that that's what I don't think that a guy like Snap is not on there. And then, of course, remember, they used the body of work. Joe Young, if they were close in high school, Joe Young passed him up down the line with his post-high school career. College, All-American at Oregon, went to the NBA for about 3 years, played overseas in China, led them in scoring, all-star over there, so he passed him up. Kelly Oubre wouldn't qualify Mr. Jeremy because Kelly did not finish at Bush High School. He transferred to Finlay Prep. And I just say Tech Mine had a badass attitude. He heard, and that's the reason he didn't play at LSU. I just say I'll give you a true fact. You can go look it up. Tag Minor started every game as a true freshman. As a true freshman at LSU on a team that had 3 NBA players on there. He started as a true freshman at LSU. Afterwards, that was on Tag Minor. Tag Minor either was injured or in trouble for being some mischievous things that he might have done. But it wasn't never because of talent. Then the year they went to the Final Four, many people claim they would have won that Final Four with a Tag Minor on that floor. It was hard to scout a guy like that as he got older. You back off of him, let him shoot it, try to but you couldn't. You back up off of him, and as he got older, he learned the effectiveness of sharing the ball and being more unselfish because you had so much talent around him. Brandon Bass, Big Baby Davis, Garrett Temple, who's still in the NBA, who surpassed all of those guys. Tasman Mitchell, Jaime Laredo. They was stacked down there. Daryl Mitchell, Tyrus Thomas. Tyrus Thomas on that team. I'm reading some of the comments right now. And we put some of your comments on the show. That's what we do. Here we go. And this is, there you go right there. We get that so people can see that. Some people have no idea the things that are not seen or talked about that these young inner city talented young kids go through, especially at home, and sports are their only outlet to release all their personal issues. Well, yeah, that falls up under the mental health part. And Millionaire Bourne says he recently spoke to Coach Stubblefield on the phone through Coach Grady and act like he didn't remember me. Well, that's possible in regard to the memory. Mike Garcia said Antonio Falou would be a name. But that was before 2000. But Falou wouldn't have qualified because he was deemed not eligible. Remember the UIL strip wall trip of that season. So definitely not going to give Falou the credit of that. Tim Moore was back in the 90s. I was just talking about guys that was from 2000 on up, King Stick. James Evans. I'm reading some of the comments right now. Bobby Crawford was in the 90s, so I didn't, that's a good name as well. Joe Stevens was earlier than too. I was only mentioning guys. Cesar Dutton is now on the entire list. Yes, Sean Gay. I'll put it like this. Here we do. I share with you guys the names on that list of the top 100 list that's from Greater Houston. I'll go through the list of those that's from Greater Houston real as quick as I can. So that way, in case you guys tune in, I already gave you the guys from 2000 on up. This right here is from the 50s or the 40s all the way on up. Remember, 100 years. These are Greater Houston names right here only. Russell Boone from Sweeney High School, 1954. Clyde Drexler, Houston Sterling, 1980. Carl Godin, Houston Cashmere, 1975. Rashard Lewis, A-Leaf Elsick, 1998. Gene Phillips from Houston Jones, 1967. Elmer Bennett, Houston from Bel Air, 1988. Jerry Boney from Houston Wheatley, 1968. Dwight Jones, Houston Wheatley, 1970. Benny Lennox from Clear Creek High School, 1960. Rob Williams from Milby High School, 1979. Carol Broussard, Port Arthur Jefferson, 1958. Dwight Davis, Houston Worthing, 1968. David Latine, Houston Worthing, 1963. Ken Spain, Houston Austin High School, 1965. Anthony Allen, Port Arthur Lincoln High School, 1986. Jerry Crow, Spring Branch Memorial High School, 1966. Slater Martin, Houston Davis High School, 1943. LeBradford Smith, Bay City High School, 1987. Clarence Stubblefield, we just talked about him a while ago. Houston Wheatley High School, 1956. Lance Blanks, Conroe McCullough High School, 1985. Earl Evans, Port Arthur Lincoln High School, 1974. Sean Gay, Houston Madison High School, 1985. Lawrence Spider Johnson, Houston Wheatley High School, 1970. Greg Kite, Houston Madison High School, 1979. Jerry Mallet, Beaumont South Park High School, 1953. Eddie Owens, Houston Wheatley High School, 1973. B.J. Tyler, Port Arthur Lincoln High School, 1989. Those guys, in addition, I mentioned the guys from 2000 on up. Those everybody from 1999 on back that made this list of the UIL's top 100 of all time. Those from Greater Houston. That's not the whole list. Those are just the Greater Houston name. You can go on the UIL website and you can search it and you can pull it up and read it for yourself. Now, I'm looking, Jonathan Simmons, Kevin Lewis, is a Jonathan Simmons. Jonathan Simmons didn't have the body of work in high school to make this list. He was Augustine Rubit and Jonathan Simmons was like a duo, a dynamic duo. And you couldn't take none of these guys out. I'm surprised. So Millionaire Barnes, Cecil Dutton did not make this list. Gary Flowers did not make the list. Some of the Emmanuel McElroy did not make that list from Port Arthur Lincoln. I see Tim Moore from Milby. He was a problem in the early 90s. Did not make the list. But I would think I would go Alvin Ford not making the list is more of a snub than Tim Moore. He goes in before Tim Moore. Based on the accolades and the body of work. Hell, Alton Ford, you know, the college was kind of shaky. The U of H didn't really want to go, you know, didn't want to be there in the first place. You know, making it to the league, played, got a cup of coffee in the league. But Alton Ford was, you know, I mean, man. Keith Frazier didn't make the list, no. Like I said, I guess they factor in your body of work, meaning that they're factoring in. They have to be factoring in everything, all things considered, after you finish high school. Have to be for this list, because there's some guys, you know. Shannon Lilly didn't have a chance. Ain't have a chance in hell on this list right here. Hell, Keith Frazier goes into the list from Dallas Kilmer before Shannon Lilly does. It says it's safe to say that Melvin Swift should be on that list. He never lost a district game, was 2-3 state champion. Phil Williams, that's a bad boy right there. Herb, does Melvin Swift go on that list before Phil Williams, or before Alton Ford, or before Tim Moore? Hell, I can make a case. I mean, 3-time state champion, that's that, but at the same time, there's everybody that wins. Hell, Pee Wee Gardner won three. Well, no, he didn't win 3. Won a couple of them. We're talking. We're taking a blast to the past, guys. Cedric Taylor, it's a good name. Does Melvin Swift going there for Cedric Taylor? Mike Williams, Forest Brook, 1974. Does Mike Williams go in there before Greg Hines? Mr. Goffney? Rick Goffney. Does Mike Williams go on that list before Gregory Hines? Because you got to think of who's the best from that school. Was Mike better than Greg? I don't know. I didn't get to see Mike Williams in 74 at Forest Brook High School. No, Michael Young didn't make the list. Shit, that's another one. It's a bad boy in high school. And he had a good body of work. Now that's a snub. Good call, Michael Garcia. In case you guys didn't see it, that's a snub. That's a real valid snub. Not to say the other ones are not. Speaking of a snub, another one. Say, man, some of these guys' names that y'all been saying couldn't tie these dudes' shoes. I know it sounds good just to say it. That way they can go back and look at the broadcast and say, hey, man, he gave you some love. That dude name right there, that's a bad boy right there, man. That's a bad dude in high school. That dude, he might have led the state in passing yards in football as a quarterback one year, and still got the team to the state tournament, or was it the regional finals? Eddie Combo. Yeah. Now Jeremy Davis, Tim Frazier. He asked, was Tim Frazier? No, he does not qualify. Tim Frazier went to Straight Jesuit. At the time, they were not UIL. Well, I'll take that back. They went to state in the first year that Straight Jesuit was included in the UIL. But the years before, I guess that's that blind. So Tim probably didn't qualify on that part. Cadillac Anderson didn't make it. He was a bad boy in high school, body of work. But it's more than just high school, it's the body of work. Got to be. I'm not on the committee. And I mean, it's the UIL list. I'm reading some of you guys' comments. I'm going so far, I'm behind on them, so far behind. Corey says Michael Williams from Dallas Carter. And Cadillac was definitely a beast. Yep. Jake Vosco was straight Jesuit. Was private school, if I'm not mistaken, right? Hey. I thought I can't remember saying his name. I'm looking, and that's a good question. If any of you guys look at the list right now, is Ricky Winslow's name on there? Because if not, that's two snubs from the same high school. Larry Mishaw from Worden High School around the same time. Ricky Winslow had a pretty good body of work on all levels. Phi Slamma Jamma. He was on the backside of the Phi Slamma Jamma. Went to Chicago Bulls. Drank a cup of coffee there. Played overseas. Just like Michael Young. But they were dominant. You knew they were coming. Matter of fact, that team from Yates went to state with Ricky Winslow. I call that team the best team to not win a state championship in the state in UIL. My personal opinion, the best team who did not win the state championship was that Yates team in 1983. Ricky Winslow, Carvin Holcomb, Stacy Belcher, Clement Pink. Forgot the little boy, one of the other little guard named last name Black. Them were some bad boys. Some bad boys. And Mr. Godfrey was responding. He said Mike started at football and went to A&M on a dual scholarship and started at guard with the Aggies with Barry Davis and Sonny Parker. Mike was wanted at Wheatley but stayed with us at the Brook. Okay. So Mike trumps Greg Hines. Paul Miranda said Mike Williams from Dallas Carter. List, you know one thing about the list like that, I mean, it's 100 years. They probably won't do nothing else till 125 years. Some people voted, some people didn't. You go, everybody say Ian Dale. He mentioned some more names. Hidaki Smith, Mario Bennett. Jeremy asked a question. Say why Mike Evans is not on the list, even though he went football route, but shouldn't exclude the football athletes. Mike Evans was a basketball star at Galveston Mall, but that wasn't known as Mike Evans basketball, his team. In high school, that was one I call a dynamic duo. That was Terran Pettaways was the option A on that high school basketball team. You know? He was. So, Mike Garcia, Luster Goodwin, Pony. They won a state championship, I think, in 1980 for Cashmere. Pony was good and solid, but that was such a great balanced team. I don't see who would you bump off unless you reach back into the PVIL days and go and bump some guys off from there. Yeah, combo. William House from Northbrook. Yeah, he was in the record books, I think, for as a top scorer. I think L.J. Cryer might have broke his record when L.J. was at Martin Ranch High School as the most points scored in the high school career in this area. I think, if I'm not mistaken, could be mistaken, but I think William House's name was on the top of the list for his points in a season. Or it might have been either was a season or a career. Yeah, so obviously, based on the names that you guys have put out there, I'm saying this is fun. I love doing this type of stuff because it's therapeutic to me. You're acknowledging guys. We're acknowledging some of the guys that from yesteryear. Meanwhile, in doing so, you're educating other people that these guys exist. Okay, so we have a correction. Michael says that Winslow is on the list. So now, where's Michael Young on there? I must have misread. So now, as we move forward, you just tune in. We're talking high school basketball. We're beyond high school basketball. The UIL a couple of years ago released their list of the top 100 players of the past century. And we was going through that and acknowledging, showing love, and wondering who got snubbed. So now, this is going to be really, really good right here. Well, I'm going to take you guys. I got one for you, Mike Garcia. Hold tight. Y'all been waiting on this one. Y'all gotta share the show right now. Share. Come on now. I need some old heads in this conversation I've been saving this conversation. I told Walter Yates, it's time now. We're going to talk about the coaches. In this conversation with the coaches, since it's Black History Month, I'm just going to acknowledge some African American coaches from the high school ranks. And I extracted a few names from the list of the top 100 coaches. So, my list, my Mount Rushmore of high school coaches who are retired, African Americans around the state of Texas. Now, when I give you this list, once again, we're going to repeat the same exercise. I'm going to ask you guys who got snubbed. Who did I snub off this list? A. And who would I take off to put whatever your guy that you say should be on this list? 4 names. Criteria, all must be retired. Right? First on this list, I'm going to go, this is no particular order, guys. No particular order. But what we can do, when I give you these 4, we can rank them if you want to. If you want to. You want to go there, we can rank them. Here we go. And I think I'll type them in for you guys as we go And I'll tell you, number one, I'm going to put them in alphabetical order by the first name. Colin Briggs from Wheatley High School. This Mr. Coach Briggs was at Wheatley for 23 years. In 23 years, right, he won 13 state titles in 23 years. Also, his record was 608-55. He run 90% of his high school games in 23 years. I'm going to let this sit there for a second. Let it soak in. Let this soak in. And by his record 608-55, that means he coached a total of 663 games. If you divide the 663 by 23 years, that means he averaged 28 games a year. Teams that go to state nowadays are averaging about right between 38 to 40 games in the UIL. Teams that make it to state nowadays. That's 10 more games on the average per year. Out of them 10 more games at the same ratio of averaging 90 or winning 9 out of 10, those could have been more wins, but we're not going to do the coulda, woulda, shoulda. Colin Briggs is one. Right? Next up, hold on. I just changed my background for you. Just hold tight. Next up, we got Jackie Carr, Wheatley High School, another Wheatley High School coach. Jackie Carr took over for Colin Briggs, right? And right at the turn of the millennium, right around 1970, 69, when Dwight Jones last year was Jackie Carr's first year. First year of integration, coming out of integration. Jackie Carr coached for 26 years. 26 years approximately. He won 3 state championships. But his record was 826-187. He won 81% of his games over a 26-year span. That's what, and he was at one high school. Colin Briggs was at one high school. Jackie Carr was at one high school. That was it. Now, third on this list, this is across the state of Texas, right? And I'm typing it in. I'm typing it in right now. James Gamble, Port Arthur Lincoln High School. He was there for 28 years. Won 4 state championships. 1981, 84, 86, and 88. He had a record of 620-226. Win percentages shortly under, right at 75%. 74.8. 670-226 was his win-loss ratio. Win-loss record for Coach James Gamble. Now, my last name on this list of my Mount Rushmore of high school coaches, right, who are retired. My top 4, right? And this one right here, I know you guys from up north and around DFW sitting there just waiting with your lips smirking, wondering what I'm going to say. Where's it going to come? And there you go. That's a no-brainer. Robert Hughes Sr. from Fort Worth Terrell High School back in the PVIL days, then slid over to, then of course, Fort Worth Dunbar. He won 5 state championships, 3 in the PVIL in 1963, 65, 67. Then in 1993, he won with Fort Worth Dunbar, and again in 2003 as well. Robert Hughes Sr., I think, is the most winningest coach in the United States of America. At the time, of course, he retired. I know he was. I don't know, the records are updated. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but he has 1,333 wins and only 265 losses in 47 years. That's a winning percentage of 83%. Coach Hughes. Shout out to Coach Hughes. Shout out to Coach Hughes. Now, who did I miss? Who got snubbed? Who got snubbed this time? Herb Baker, you put a list out, but some of those guys I've named on this list right here, well, one of them for sure. So which one? He says Coach Petrie, Walt D.H. Sr., Frankie Brazzers, Steve Tucker, Bill Kruger. Remember now, I'm only doing African American names right now because it's black, for Black History Month purposes. We can have our own. We got our own conversation on this one right here. We can widen it up. March the 1st, we can go and open it up and refine it to make it all inclusive. At one point in time, we couldn't drink at certain water fountains. Right now, they can't come on this list right now. Right now. Rick Goffman give you some good education on Coach Frankie Brazzers, a name that Herb Baker just listed. Frankie Brazzers, he actually fed him. He did coach him at E.O. Smith. And Coach Brazzers had the young men at E.O. Smith Junior High, what it used to be called back in the day, which is now Mickey Leland High School. And so Coach Brazzers had that group and had a group of guys, and they went over to Wheatley, and Jackie Carr, if Coach Brazzers went over to got the job at Cashmere. Yeah. And ironically, that team in 1968 that won that championship is featured in a team after that in 1969 is featured in the magazine. Look at all them dudes, man. Look how long, look at them body, look at that. Look at just take a peek and look at some of these guys. Look at how they look. That's raw athleticism. Look, that's Wheatley 1969, 1970. All right. That guy number 13, right? That's Dwight Big D Jones. Dwight Jones. He's passed away now. He was an Olympian, first round NBA draft pick, and flat out dominated during this era back then. If you guys haven't got the magazine, you can go to RCS Sports and actually you can read a non-hard copy, digital copy, and you read about them. I go 17 pages about and including that team, and it's taking you a blast to the past among champions. Now, who's got snubbed? I see you, Coach Favre is joining us. I'm reading something. Paul Miranda said he nominated one. Snoop Johnson from Dallas Kimball High School. If Snoop comes in case you missed it now, we had Jackie Carr, James Gamble, Colin Briggs, Robert Hughes Sr. First and foremost, if you was to rank those four, what order would you rank them in? If you was to rank those four, Robert Hughes Sr., Colin Briggs, James Gamble, Jackie Carr. I'm just curious. I'm waiting on y'all. I'm waiting on you. Who would you rank? If you had to rank those four, what would you put them in? Come on now. Y'all get with me. Some good stuff now. Good stuff. Blast it. Come on, share the show too as well, man. Get this thing, get these numbers up. I'm gonna go Colin Briggs. I'm just gonna put my ranking out there. Colin Briggs 1. I'm gonna put Hughes at 2. Right? I'm gonna put James Gamble was 28 years at Lincoln. He won 670 games, but he lost 226. That's a lot of losses. Jackie Carr, 828 and 187. He only has 3 state championships. One has 4. I'm gonna go with Jackie Carr ahead of Gamble. Those are my rankings. Briggs, Hughes, Carr, Gamble. Walter Yates says Hughes, Briggs, Carr, Gamble. Herb says, well, let's put it up there so you guys can see. This is Walter Yates. This is his picks. Hughes, Briggs, Carr, Gamble. Now, Walt, I'm just curious. Why would you, for those who pick Hughes over Briggs? Because here's what's fascinating. Those two coaches, their careers kind of overlapped each other. So it's not like, of course, Jackie Carr obviously he didn't compete or coach against Colin Briggs because number one, they're from the same high school. Number two, he wasn't a head coach until Briggs went on to the college ranks. You know, he did what you do. Like, hey, you know, they recruited him on to the college ranks. But I'm just curious. Coach Hughes has 1,300 wins 47 years. Colin Briggs is 608 wins in 23 years. That's about the same. However, the losses is what magnified this thing. Coach Hughes was 1333 and 265. That's an 83% winning percentage. Colin Briggs was 608 and 55. We all know during those days, that was he only did the UIL for 2 years. 68, as Rick Goffney mentioned, was the first year, and 69 was that team that I showed you in the magazine. And he laid it down. Jackie Carr took over in 1970. Right? That was when I think Eddie Owens was a 10th grader, if I'm not mistaken. So now, and like I said, Coach Brazzers was coaching Eddie Owens at E.O. Smith Middle School at that time, getting that group ready to be next man up. That was no 9th grade in high school back in those they weren't called middle schools. They were junior highs. It was 10th, 11th, and 12th grade at the high schools. If you were in the 10th grade and played varsity, you had to be special at one of those urban schools back in those days. Special. Everybody had 15 players suited out back in those days. Now, comparing Coach Briggs to Coach Hughes. Coach Briggs won a state championship in 1948, 1950, 1951, 1952, 1953, 1954, 1955. Then backdoored it 58, 59. In 1961, and then 1966. Now, meanwhile, around those 60s, Coach Briggs won in 61. Coach Hughes won in 63. Then Coach Hughes won again in 65. Then Coach Briggs won in 66. Then Coach Hughes won in 67. Then Coach Briggs won in 68 and 69, and could have kept going. Remember, he only did 23 years because he went on to the college ranks. He shut it down then. Passed the torch to Jackie Carr. So, I'm reading some of the comments. Uh-oh. Okay, we got that one already. Walter Yates say this is his reason, 1,333 wins got to be respected. Okay. 47 years, longevity. Remember, we didn't have no criteria. But those state titles, man, 13 state titles in 23 years, that got to be respected as well. Do you understand, back in those days, it was harder to win the PVIL than it was to win during the early years of the integration? Because back then, as you guys, in case you didn't know, for those that do, I'm refreshing your memory. Only the team that came in first place got to go to the playoffs back in those days. Only the team that came in first place. Getting out of your district was a juggernaut, was a task upon itself. Right? So, well, he says his dad told him that Jackie Carr was doing the coaching when he was under Briggs, and said Briggs was a tennis guy. and dominoes, of course. I can believe that. Kind of like we mentioned Coach, the coach from Booker T. Washington, Clarence Stubblefield. Many guys know that Coach Grayson was doing the coaching under Stubblefield. Grayson, during his latter years of coaching at Booker T. Washington High School in Houston, Texas, he would sit on the bench, and Coach Grayson would do most of the active coaching during the games. You could see it. If you was at the games, you saw it. Just like right now, if you go to Jack Yates High School, you can see Eddie Barlow doing most of the coaching during the game. Greg Wise is doing his fair share. He just loves standing up. And, you know, and he has his system. He's still, but Eddie Barlow has the power to sub a player in. Every assistant coach don't have that power on the staff. Most coaches, assistant coaches, got to tap the head coach. Coach, want to put so-and-so back in? Coach, I think you ought to go with so-and-so. He can go sub him in. Coach will look, oh, man, okay, Barlow put him in. Yes, the PVI, in case you didn't know, PVI was basically Houston, Dallas, well, DFW, because Fort Worth teams were in the PVIL as well. So it was Houston, Beaumont, DFW, and San Antonio. Those schools were in those cities because during those days you couldn't dare travel to some of those small towns based on the racial tensions that existed in our society back in those days, right? Rick Goffney giving us the list of these are some of the schools that you had to, I mean, it was no easy task in that PVIL, guys. It was serious back in those days. Tony Washington say, Frankie Bowers is my 8th grade coach. We won a city championship 2 years in a row. You know, and that's what's missing. That's one of the things that I think was missing. And it's a void. Is that back in the days, the middle schools used to have a city championship. It would be packed. Think about it. It's 8th graders, 7th graders, mama coming, grandmama coming, cousins coming, everybody coming. And HISD did it. But then they cited budget reasons for stop doing it. And I'm like, a tournament you can only play more, you can't play more than 2 games in one day. I get that. In the scholastic setting. So we're talking about if you narrow down your top 4 teams, and the team that has the best record, they'll get to host it at their home site. That's one less set of buses that you got to rent. I'm just brainstorming. So that means only one team got to catch the bus. And that's how they can do their first round, right? Instead of 4 teams, it can be 8 teams. But whoever got the best seed or the highest seed or the record, they have a criteria to use, let the other one come visit them at their school. All the first round games or be at the school. Then you narrow it to 4, from 8 to 4. They have 8 zones in HISD. I'm not, somebody can check, right? And let me know how many zones is it. I'm going to text Andre Walker right now. How many zones how many middle school zones are in HISD? And we wait on that text to come back from athletic director of HISD. I got the solution already. Now we just got to remind me, guys, we can put it in the paper and a proposal. This can happen. HISD can return. There are other districts that have a tournament. Fort Bend has a tournament. Cypress has a tournament. Klein has a tournament. There's various districts that have a tournament, and it just simply takes the effort of somebody to look at the calendar and say, look, this is how we can do it. Home, 8 teams, they host. If it's 8 teams, that means 4 teams are traveling to those other 4 teams at home. Then the 4 winners will come, right? The 4 winners will go the next day or the next week, depending on how you want to do the calendar, and they will play the semifinals and the championship on the same day at the stadium. You schedule it for Delmar, give those middle school kids a chance to play at that facility. It'll inspire them to want to attend the high schools so that they can come back and play in that atmosphere. And then you make all of the middle school teams, the 8 teams that initially qualified, they get to come and you acknowledge them, because they will have, for them to be playing in the championship, in the tournament, that means they came and they finished at the top of their respective zone. So you give them their medals or their certificates. It doesn't take nothing to print some damn certificates out. Hand them some certificates. That means they have to be there to receive their certificates. The mom and dad gonna come to take pictures, to video and live stream and put it on Snapchat and IG. So they're gonna be there. So that means you're gonna populate the place. Think about it, 6 teams with 12 kids on each one. That's 72 kids plus the coaches. That brings me to about 90 right there. Then you go and talk about the parents, sisters, brothers, cousins. They're going to come capture the moment. Then that semifinal game, put that at afternoon, 2 games, then they sit and they come back and play that night. Boy, you talking about a moment. You're talking about a moment. Now, speaking of the middle school city championship, this is one of the things that inspired me, and I'll show you guys, because this weekend, there's no HISD tournament. There's a lot of champions around the city, around the area. A lot of them. A lot of these kids claiming, man, we got the best middle school in Houston. I'm like, well, how can we solve that? Man, I wish there was a way we can find that out. Well, that's where this was created. And this is this weekend. The middle school city championships. At MacArthur High School, we basically took the champion from various districts, right? And they're going to battle it out for the championship. It is some fire. It's Saturday and Sunday. Action started at roughly approximately 9 a.m. both days. 9 o'clock in the morning. On Saturday, the schedule is posted. Go look on RCS rcssports.com. rcssports.com. Right? And you guys will be able to see the I was just fixing that back on there for you guys. You'll be able to see the schedule for the middle school city championship. That's what inspired me to do that. You did? Now, I'm reading some of the comments. You guys got a blast to the past. I think Sandra is up in there. Oh, Sandra says she thinks it's 6 zones in the HISD. 6. I said 8. So if it's 6 zones, then that's easy. You could take the first place team from each one of those zones, right? And make a 6 team. 2 of them would get a bye, and the other 4 play each other first round, and then you got your semifinals as I just described. That thing could work. It could work. And guess what? The same thing can be doubled down in DFW. Why couldn't it be? It just takes the effort to go and just pick the brains of some of the coaches. The middle school coaches don't really, you have to educate them. This would be super. You can start it small. The Duncanville champion, middle school champion, can play the DeSoto middle school champion. And, well, they don't play each other already. I'm just giving an example. And they can play the Oak Cliff champion from that zone of DISD. And then find you 4 and just make a tournament. We're going to see who the first or second place. And just do it. Just do it. This particular weekend is the right weekend. All the weekend just passed. Now, a lot of these kids play grassroots basketball with other teams. Yes, that's would be the only thing that you're fighting against. If that be the case, you can still do it on a weekday. Do it on a Thursday. Do it on a Thursday. High school ball is on Friday. Can't mess get with that. 2 Thursdays in a row. That could work at one site. Or maybe a Wednesday and a Thursday. But you can, it could be done, guys. Now, meanwhile, I want to leave you guys with something. And that is, I gave you my Mount Rushmore of coaches who had been retired. I want to leave you with something, and we can talk about it on tomorrow because we're getting ready to land the plane. But I got another Mount Rushmore. I got another one. You got it. Hold on. Y'all, have you shared the show? Share your show as we get ready to get out the door, guys. Share your show. And here's my Mount Rushmore. These are 4 coaches. Since it's Black History Month, these are 4 African American coaches from the greater Houston area right now. And Paul Miranda, I'm gonna challenge you to give me your 4 coaches from the DFW that are active. Let me use the word active. 4 active coaches that comprise your active Mount Rushmore from DFW right now. That's African Americans. So here's my 4 in no particular order, but I'm going to give them to you in alphabetical order from the greater Houston area. First up, Andre Butte. He's at Beaumont Westbrook High School right now. Started off, he was at Kuntz, pulled out to Lincoln, Beaumont Ozan. He's won 3 state championships. 91, 95 at Lincoln, put out to Lincoln, and then in 2001 with Beaumont Ozan. His record right now is 757 wins and 212 losses. He's coached, this is his 29th and a half year. He's approaching 30 years. I will just say 30. 30 years as a head basketball coach. He's never been an assistant. In between that was 7.5 years as an athletic director in Port Arthur ISD. If he'd been coaching for 7.5 more years, think about how many more wins Andre Boutte Sr. would have or could have had. He's on that Mount Rushmore of active coaches. Next up will be David Green. David Green is on his 30th, approximately 30 years. I don't have the exact now, approximately 30. He won state championship with North Shore in 2014 with and Beaumont United in 2021 and 2022. 3 state titles. He has his record. I don't have Coach Green's total record right now. I was waiting on him to give it to me, but I'm going to guesstimate that he has about over 750 wins with about 250 losses. Good ratio. Next up, we got Greg Wise. Greg Wise won the state championship at Yates. 2009, 2010, 2013, 2014. Got 4 state titles. This is his 31st year, if I'm not mistaken, that he's on the books. Coach Wise's record is approximately 873 and 160. That's a hell of a ratio. I say it again, 873 and 160. Last but not least, my active Mount Rushmore, Ronnie Courtney. He's currently at Thurgood Marshall High School. He also coached at Willow Ridge and at Bush High School. He won the state championship at Willow Ridge in 2000, 2001. That's 2 years right there, back to back. Then at Bush High School, when Cameron Ridley was a sophomore, he was a sophomore at Bush in 2010. Ronnie Courtney's, I mentioned he's on his 30th year as well. His record is 742 and 306. 742 and 306. And remember, Coach Courtney also went and coached Division I basketball for about 3-4 years at Texas Southern University after winning those back-to-back championships with Willow Ridge. And it was a successful run at Texas Southern. For the most part, he won the conference. He went to the big dance. He's the first coach in this state that won a state championship and a Division I conference championship. Those are my 4. I leave you guys with the question of who did I miss out? Who do you think I got snubbed on that list. Right? Herb Baker says, Coach Morrow, who do you take out? I want you guys to stand on business. Who you take out for Coach Morrow on that list? Who comes out? I'm asking Coach Morrow right now. What's his career coaching record? There are 5 zones in HISD. Thank you, Coach Mr. Andre Walker, and of course Lanny Reynolds Jr. Both gave me the 5 zones, not 6. It's 5 zones in HISD. That can be figured out real easy. We need to get that down and bring that middle school championships back. Now, says no snubs on that. I just want to make sure we don't. That's now. Somebody had a good question. Darcy say, how difficult do you think it was to win a 4A state championship the year of integration? It's undescribable. I've talked to people from back then, and you have to understand when you pulled up to some of these locations, the hatred that you got, the venom that was spewed. And I think you got to realize, in the hoods, when we played each other, growing up, we were young, that was a ritual. If Wheatley came over to Cashmere, you knew before you got there, but you knew it as a player that if you played and you got on that bus, you know what, you knew what was going to happen. They called it, because you guys that grew up in the suburbs, they say they're going to rock your bus. Rocking your bus don't mean rocking it side to side. That means there's going to be a group of guys, mischievous guys at either school that's going to be already waiting. They will already have stockpiled their rocks somewhere in the parking lot or in the park or down the street. And when you take off, they're going to throw those rocks at your bus. However, I'm going to honestly tell you guys, back then, going and coming, you knew it was going to happen, but that was never a scary moment. You wasn't, because the guys that threw the rocks, they were so skilled. They wasn't throwing the rocks to bust your windows. They were just throwing it to hit the body of the bus. So you would hear the pop, pop, pops. They didn't, once again, in most cases, I can't ever remember riding a bus where the guys bust our windows with the rocks. Or we busted the windows off the other rocks. Well, statute of limitations, I think, didn't expire. So we seriously. So it was more like a game outside of the game. We whooped that butt. Now it's time they finna rock your bus. Pop, 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 pop. You hear the pops going. Everybody get down a little bit. But I don't remember. I may be off. Do you guys get your butt? I don't. I'm reading the comments. I just said they threw rocks back then. Now they shoot the bus up. Oh, man. So, but to answer your question, Darcy, when I mentioned they rocked the buses when we play in the hood teams, but going and playing in some of those other locations after integration, those white towns or those white teams you have to play against, the way that it was explained to me, that was a fear factor But the kids had already been prepared mentally. So they were so mad at how some white people had been treating their relatives along with them during their encounters, that basketball was the way to get your revenge. And I think a lot of white folk knew that. So therefore, when 1968, Wheatley won the state championship. In 1969, Wheatley won another state championship. Then in 1972, Wheatley won another state championship. I want to say in 73, Wheatley won another one. I want to say it's 4. Cashmere came back and won in 70. No, Cashmere won in 74. Then Cashmere won again in 75. They proceeded to win 82 games in a row. Then I think Wheatley came back and won in 78. Cashmere came back and won in 1980. Let me tell you guys something. In a 10-year span, even I gave you 12. That's about 8 state championships off the same street. Wheatley is on Lockwood in Bennington. What's known in Bennington now, that street didn't always go all the way through. And Yates is on Lockwood, off Lockwood and Market Street. Both of those schools are about 4 miles apart. That stretch, to explain to you just how much basketball talent was in that stretch of lane, in that stretch, they dominated the state of Texas. The state championship road came through Lockwood for that stretch of 1968 to 1980. That was about, and you guys can help, of course, Rick Goffney. I know you should know off the top of your head. That was awesome. But I wanted to leave you guys on that note. Just a good blast to the past. But I thank you guys definitely for chiming in and hanging with me on the Chop Shop today solo. We rode, and of course tomorrow I'll come back and I'll share with you guys. I got my Coach of the Year candidates. Also, I have my newcomer Coaches of the Year. I've narrowed those down to 4 at the high school season, because the last days of the high school regular season are upon us. Tonight, there's a slate of games. You go to rcssports.com. You can check that out. Or you can go, and you can also go to the VIP news and check out the write-ups for today, and it'll help you guys out. But definitely, it's time to slide on down Dino's back. Yabba dabba do this thing. Mr. Haggerty said he was on the bus that got rocked after the Woodson game back in the Gap. Did the windows get broke when they rocked the bus? That's what I was curious. I don't remember a window ever getting broken on a bus that I rode that got rocked. That means that let you know how accurate of a thrower that the guys were that were tossing the rocks. Guys weren't trying to break the windows. It was like a mischievousness to it, but they felt they were doing their obligation. For their school, they had to rock. If you went to Wheatley, you had to rock Cashmere bus. If you went to E.O. Smith, you had to rock Key Middle School's bus or Terrell Middle School bus. If you went to Fleming if you went to Carter G. Woodson Junior High Middle School back in South Side or in Sunnyside, you had to rock the bus of Ryan Middle School or Cullen Middle School. That was an obligation for your rivalry. It was just your way of just letting them know, hey man, plant that fear factor in your mind. So, I leave with that. Walt Disney Sr. been at HID Hall of Fame. Yeah, I can agree on that. I can agree on that. That's gonna come. Hey, all eggs don't hatch on the same day. May not come when you want to. Remember, guys, spring icebreaker. Register your team up. See the dates behind me. March the 15th through the 17th. And it's on this side of me right there. March the 15th through the 17th. And at various locations around Houston, you can put your phone and scan that QR code right above me, and it will take you to the registration page to reserve your spots. That's a spring icebreaker. Let's make this thing rock. We got a lot of the teams and a lot of the heavy hitters will be playing in the event. As always, got a lot of teams from out of town. Couple of teams from Canada coming in. We got Arizona coming in. We got, I mean, so you know, it's good. Don't get stuck out. Don't get stuck out. You list your team now, then you get the obligation of letting me know when you want your first game. Somebody asked me what kind of, that's my HEB water, man. It's no calories. No calories and no sugar. Anyway, guys, share the show on your way out the door. I thank you guys again. Happy Fat Tuesday. That's right, Alfio. Happy Fat Tuesday, everybody. I might, you know, and I don't hardly do the margaritas like I used to. But I might go get me one today just out of Fat Tuesday honor. But I gotta go work and watch a ball game this evening. But thanks so much, guys. Get with you guys on tomorrow. Make sure, again, share the show on your way out the door. We appreciate everything, man. Thanks a bunch. Chop Shop. We are up out of here.
Jim Hicks, Rob Hatter. You are now tuned in to the Chop Shop. I'm Retro. Let's get it. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. We live.